There comes a moment when silence becomes louder than any goodbye, when their absence starts to speak in ways their presence never did. You hear it in the late night overthinking, in the empty conversations, in the way you keep rereading old messages trying to find the version of them that made you feel safe, like maybe you imagined it all, but you didn't. You were just trying to see the best in someone who wasn't showing up as their best. And it's okay to admit that it hurt, that it still does, but pain is not a life sentence, it's a teacher, and maybe this time the lesson isn't how to hold on tighter. Maybe it's how to let go gracefully, completely without trying to save something that was never willing to save you back. You were not too difficult to love. You were just giving your love to someone who couldn't receive it. You bent until you broke. You tried until you were tired, and in the end, it wasn't your fault that they couldn't meet you where you stood. It was never your job to make someone ready. It was your job to recognize when they weren't and stop handing out parts of yourself in hopes they'd change. You don't need to convince anyone to stay. Love doesn't need convincing. It doesn't live in uncertainty. It doesn't keep you guessing. Real love is a choice made every day, not just when it's easy or exciting, not just when they're lonely or bored, but when they see you fully and still choose to lean in. You've done enough leaning, enough compromising, enough waiting for someone to be what you needed them to be. Now it's time to return to yourself, to rebuild the trust that was chipped away by the ones who couldn't hold you, to look in the mirror and finally see someone worth fighting for, not because they fit someone else's mold, but because they dared to break it, because they loved deeply and gave freely even when it wasn't returned, because they didn't let that make them bitter, only wiser. You're not here to live halfway. You're not here to chase half effort, half truths, half love. You are here to be chosen in the fullness of who you are. No conditions, no small print, no waiting until someone is ready. You are ready now, and that readiness is power. Start walking like someone who knows what they deserve. Start speaking like someone who knows their worth. Start living like someone who's no longer trying to be chosen because they've already chosen themselves. Let the world adjust to your standards. Let the wrong ones leave. Let the silence speak. And don't be afraid of being alone. Be afraid of losing yourself trying not to be. Because the truth is, the more you heal, the less you tolerate anything less than respect. The less you crave attention, and the more you demand presence. The less you wait, and the more you move forward. That's not loneliness, that's evolution. You are not the same person who tolerated the excuses, who waited for texts, who questioned their own instincts. That version of you was surviving. This version is rising, so rise. No more explaining, no more chasing, no more trying to become lovable in the eyes of someone who never even saw you clearly. The ones who are meant for you will find you in your truth, not your disguise. And until then, stay close to yourself. Take yourself to the places you were waiting to be taken. Say the words you needed to hear. Give yourself the closure they couldn't, and step forward one clear, quiet, powerful step at a time. You are not broken, you are becoming, and this is just the beginning. Before you keep waiting for someone else to choose you, ask yourself why you're not choosing yourself. You've been sitting in silence, hoping they'll notice. Hoping they'll wake up and see the version of you that's been holding it all together. Even when your heart is slowly breaking under the weight of being ignored, you reply quickly, you make time, you forgive easily. You give over and over even when it costs you your energy, your sleep, your peace. And somewhere in the middle of all that giving, you lost yourself. You stopped asking, "What do I want?" and started asking, "What do I need to be so they'll stay?" But that's not love. That's survival. You weren't born to prove your worth. You weren't born to audition for affection. You were born worthy of effort, of care, of being seen and chosen, not as a second thought, not as a backup plan, but fully and without hesitation. So why are you still chasing people who make you question that? Stop breaking your own heart by waiting for someone else to fix it. The truth is, if they wanted to talk, they would. If they cared, you wouldn't feel so alone with them. If they loved you, you wouldn't be confused. You deserve clarity. You deserve consistency. You deserve someone who says, "I'm not going anywhere," and proves it not with words, but with actions. But none of that will happen until you stop tolerating the bare minimum. Until you decide that half-hearted love is not enough, that being an option is not the same as being a priority, that being remembered once in a while is not the same as being valued. You've convinced yourself that if you're easy, if you need less, if you stay quiet, they'll stay. But don't you see, every time you silence your needs, you silence your soul. Every time you ignore your intuition, you abandon the very voice that's been trying to guide you, and that voice, it's begging you to stop begging. It's asking you to let go, not because you're weak, not because you don't care, but because you finally understand that love should never make you feel small. It should never make you wait in doubt. It should never hurt more than it heals. Letting go isn't failure, it's faith. It's trusting that walking away from what's not meant for you opens the door for something that is. It's believing that someone out there will not just want you, they'll respect you, support you, cherish you. And until they arrive, you will be that person for yourself. You will become the one who doesn't break your own heart for temporary connection, the one who knows their value so deeply, rejection doesn't destroy them, it redirects them. The one who doesn't settle for almost, maybe, or one day, because one day is today, and you don't need another sign. You don't need them to finally show up to validate your worth. You just need to stop waiting for love that feels like pain. You're not too much, you're not too emotional, you're not asking for too much, you're asking the wrong person. And once you stop asking them, once you stop searching for home in someone else, you'll finally find it within you. In your silence, in your strength, in your healing, in the way you rise without them. No more shrinking, no more begging, no more rewriting yourself just to be chosen. The one who's meant for you will never ask you to become less of who you are. They will meet you where you are, and they will stay. But until then, stay for yourself, show up for yourself, love yourself loudly, fully, without apology, because the moment you do, everything changes. You've walked through storms no one saw. You've smiled while breaking inside. You've stayed quiet in rooms where your voice deserved to be heard, and maybe, for a long time, that felt like the only way to survive by dimming yourself, by fitting into boxes built by other people's comfort, by believing that if you just did everything right, they wouldn't leave, but they did. Or maybe they stayed, but in a way that made you feel lonelier than if they hadn't. And now you're left with the weight of things unsaid, the ache of unfinished stories, the quiet grief of becoming someone you never meant to be, just to feel loved. That grief is real, and so is the strength it takes to carry it. But you don't have to carry it forever. You don't have to hold on to pain just because you got used to the weight. Healing is not forgetting. Healing is remembering with softness, looking back at what hurt and saying, "That broke me, but it didn't end me. You're still here." And the fact that you're still here means the story isn't over. There is more to you than the people who left, more than the ones who didn't see your worth, more than the times you forgot your own reflection because you were too busy becoming what someone else wanted. You are not a collection of failed connections. You are not the echo of someone's silence. You are not the version of you that settled for almost. Love, you are what remains after the burning the gold left in the ashes. And now, it's time to stop looking backward, to stop reopening doors that only lead to rooms full of confusion, anxiety, and longing. You don't need to return to people who made you question your place. You don't need to stay in places that made you earn every ounce of affection. Love isn't a reward, it's a right, and it starts with the way you love yourself when no one else is watching, the way you speak to yourself when the mirror reflects a tired version of you, the way you sit with your pain, not as something to be ashamed of, but as something sacred, because every wound is proof that you felt, that you tried, that you risked your heart when you could have played it safe. But you don't need to keep bleeding to prove you have a heart. There is another way. It begins when you stop measuring your value by how much someone else is willing to give you. When you stop turning someone's absence into a reason to abandon yourself. When you realize that you were never too much, you were just too honest, too deep, too real for someone still hiding from their own reflection. The people who left did not break you. They revealed what needed healing. And that healing is slow. It doesn't always look like growth. Sometimes it looks like tears on your pillow at 2 a.m. Sometimes it looks like not replying. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace over closure. Sometimes it looks like walking away, not because you don't care, but because you finally do. There will be days where you miss what hurt you. That's part of it. There will be days when you second guess your strength. Days when the old version of you whispers, maybe you could have tried harder, and on those days you gently remind yourself, you tried, you gave, you showed up, and now you're showing up for you. That's the most radical act of love there is, choosing yourself in a world that keeps telling you to settle. You don't need to be the strongest every day. You just need to be honest with yourself, with your needs, with your truth. Because pretending doesn't protect you, it prolongs your pain. It's okay to want love, to want connection, to want someone who makes you feel safe and seen. But don't confuse longing with settling. Don't water down your needs to be digestible to someone who was never hungry for your kind of love in the first place. You are not too sensitive. You are not too intense. You are not asking for too much. You are asking for someone who understands the language of your soul, someone who doesn't just tolerate your depth, but swims in it with you, someone who doesn't flinch at your truth, someone who chooses clarity over games, presence over promises, real over perfect. But before they arrive, you get to become that person for yourself. You get to hold your own heart with both hands. You get to be gentle with your healing. You get to rebuild your boundaries not as walls to keep love out, but as sacred gates that only open for those who truly see you. Let yourself evolve. Let yourself feel joy again, not because everything is perfect, but because you are present. Let yourself dance without needing a reason. Let yourself laugh without needing permission. Let yourself belong to yourself before you try to belong to anyone else. You've spent so much of your life proving you're worthy. Now let that be a chapter that ends. You don't need to fight to be seen anymore. The right people won't need convincing. They'll just know, they'll feel it, and they'll stay. But even if they don't come right away, you are not waiting. You are becoming. You are walking taller. You are breathing deeper. You are shedding every belief that told you love must come with suffering. You are rewriting the story, the one where you no longer chase, where you no longer give just to be needed, where you no longer betray yourself in the name of belonging. This new story, it starts with presence, with honesty, with the kind of love that begins within. Look around. Everything that's falling away was never meant to stay. Let it go. Let the silence expand and find peace inside it. Let the unanswered questions exist and live without needing all the answers. Let the space they left behind become room for your own light to fill. You are not broken, you are blooming in your own time. In your own way. Not everyone will understand your growth. Some will try to shrink you back to who you were when you still needed them. Let them go. Anyone who only loved you when you were small is not qualified to witness your expansion. And it's okay to outgrow them. You are allowed to be too much for people who were never enough for you. You are allowed to want more, to expect more, to wait for more, not from a place of lack, but from a place of knowing your soul was not made for mediocrity. You are not here to chase fragments of love. You are here to live fully, loudly, softly, truly. You are not here to be chosen once. You are here to be chosen every day, and until that happens, you choose yourself. Again and again and again, you don't need to be fixed. You need to be heard. You need to be met. You need to be honored, and that begins the moment you stop explaining your worth and start embodying it. Breathe, deeply, right here, in this moment. You are safe. You've made it through the things you thought would destroy you. You've learned to sit with emptiness without filling it with the wrong people. You've grown, and that growth is sacred, even if no one claps for it, even if no one sees it but you. Your heart is not fragile. It's fierce, it's tender, it's resilient, and it's ready not to be handed over recklessly, but to be shared intentionally. With someone who's ready to hold it with both hands and say, I see you, I'm not going anywhere, but you won't wait for them to feel whole, because you've already found what you were searching for, yourself. The version of you who doesn't apologize for feeling deeply, who doesn't settle for anything less than clarity, who knows how to love and walk away at the same time, who knows that the most beautiful kind of love doesn't ask you to sacrifice yourself. Worth it reminds you of it. So breathe again. You are not behind. You are not missing anything. You are not unloved. You are unfolding, and the world is waiting for all of you, not the edited version, not the quiet version, not the convenient version. The real you, the one who knows that real love begins when you stop chasing it and start becoming it. There's a moment, and maybe it's small. Maybe it comes in the stillness, when no one's watching, when the noise fades, and you are finally left with only yourself, and instead of feeling alone, you feel peace. Maybe for the first time, not because everything is perfect, not because the past didn't leave its scars, but because you've finally stopped running. You've stopped chasing people who don't see you. You've stopped asking questions that only ever lead to silence. You've come home to yourself, and when you get here, when you arrive fully in your own presence, something shifts. The ache doesn't vanish, but it no longer owns you. The memories don't disappear, but they lose their power to define you. The loneliness doesn't break you, it teaches you how to be whole in your own company. This is what healing sounds like. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, you made it, and you did. You survived what tried to dim your light. You outgrew what couldn't love you fully. You walked away when it would have been easier to stay small. That's not weakness. That's not failure. That is your power, not in being hard or guarded, but in being soft and strong at the same time. In feeling deeply and still standing tall. In loving fiercely and still knowing when to let go. In walking alone for a while because you refuse to walk with people who make you feel like a burden. You are no longer available for love that feels like anxiety, for conversations that drain you, for relationships that require you to become less just to be kept, because you know now, you know what your heart needs, and you're no longer afraid to ask for it, not from a place of desperation, but from grounded worth. You know your peace is too sacred to hand over to someone who doesn't know how to hold it. You know your love is too real to be given to someone who only wants fragments. You are done explaining your value. You are done waiting for someone else to choose you, so you can finally choose yourself. You have already chosen, and that choice, that quiet, personal, powerful choice, is everything. This is your season of becoming. Not becoming what others want, not becoming smaller to make space for someone else's comfort, but becoming you, the version of you that trusts your gut, that sets your boundaries with kindness and keeps them with strength. That holds space for love, but never at the cost of your truth. You've peeled back the layers, you've unlearned the patterns, you've stared your loneliness in the face and said, I am still enough. And you are. You are enough, not because someone said so, but because you've seen what it means to keep showing up even when it hurt. You've seen what it means to start over, to release, to rebuild. You've seen what it means to lose someone. And find yourself, that version of you, the one who rose quietly, who healed slowly, who walked away with grace and not resentment. That version of you deserves everything soft and true and sacred this life has to offer. And now it's coming, maybe not all at once, but it's coming, and you won't have to beg for it. You won't have to shrink for it. You won't have to wonder if you're asking for too much, because the right things won't make you question your worth. And as they find you as the people, the places, the love meant for you rise to meet you, you'll know. You'll recognize it, not because it's perfect, but because it feels safe, because it feels like coming home, but without losing yourself this time. You won't be chasing, you won't be proving, you'll just be, and you'll be loved for exactly that. So take one more breath. You've walked through so much to get here. You've outgrown stories that were never yours. You've grieved futures that were never meant for you. You've said goodbye to versions of yourself that were built to survive what you no longer have to endure. This moment right here, it is yours. You earned it. You created it. You returned to it. And now it welcomes you with open arms, not for who you could be if you changed, not for who you were when you were quiet and compliant, but for who you are fully. Finally, and this time, you are not going back, because you are not lost, you are not broken, you are not waiting, you are ready, and everything that is meant for you is already on its way.